Huh? Awesome. Saseni, leo tunafanya mob ya Ruby, and we are supposed to, yes, we're supposed to randomize because there's 3 of us today. So I'll share my screen and then we pick numbers. Kevin, are you there? Kevin, you're in the book. That's not where you're supposed to be. You're in the book. Yes. Okay, Kevin. Sorry, 1 minute. Kevin. Kevin, please pick your 2 numbers. 0 and 5. Sigu, please pick your 2 numbers. From 0 to 5. 1, 2. Betty, 3, 4. Aya. Now we randomize to 5. First one is 4, which is me. Second is 0, which is Kevin. Third is 1, which is Sigu. So Sigu will be taking us through today. We're doing, let me check real quick. Tunafanya nesting modules and classes. That's on, I think. Copy. I'm trying to switch back alafu imekata. All right. Ew.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can hear myself. Get was not muted. Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Oh, okay. Are you doing Swahili or English? Whichever. So, okay, I'll be doing a mixture of both. I'll start by something interesting. Nikienda home, simoja tulienda na pikipiki. All the way. So nikapata ka excitement fulani, nikaanza kuangalia around. Tunaenda naangalia around. Kuangalia hivi nyuma, specs zikatoka. Zikaanguka huko. Hadi hii kitu sasa haiko. But uzuri hazikuvunjika. Na kuna Nissan ilikuwa inatufuata. Wall. Aya, so kama tunafanya nesting modules and classes. Okay, so it's actually optional to. There's a funny feeling. Okay, it's usually it sometimes makes sense if you have classes, okay, inside modules, just so that the names can make sense to you. Okay, so in our case we have tools, and the first tool that we have is a hammer, and the hammer is defined inside the tools. Now if you create an instance of hammer, if you want to create this instance, you must say where the hammer is. You must tell us which module it belongs to. Okay? And to access any constant inside a module, or a constant inside a class, you normally use the double colons. Okay. So if you have a double colon, you use the double colon lookup token in this case. So we can try this on the IRB without the new, so we can see what comes back. Okay. Da-la-la-la-la-la. Oh, let me use terminal. So let's do cry. Hopefully it's there. Yep. Then you have a module called tools. Oh yeah, this is a live event. Expect any errors on the way. Expect stupidity on the way. Not really stupidity, but lack of knowledge on the way. Some words might be inappropriate. Expect that also. Hopefully none will be. Thank you. So let's try look up for hammer. Like that, like this, like that. Brings back the hammer. If you do .new, it will create an instance of that. .new create an instance of tools hammer. I want to call a method that does not exist, just out of curiosity. If you call this method, it will be undefined for main object. How about a method that does not exist for this? .new dot. It will be undefined for. It won't be object. It will be hammer class. Wait a minute. Let me copy this. We're saying it will be tools. It will be just. It will be this.
Yeah,
For
tools.
double colon.
Yeah.
Huh?
Then colon class.
Then colon. Yes, actually it's a class. It's not an object. It's not in the object class. It's in the class because it's a class.
Created a new instance for that tools hammer class.
So get is get is talking about this object.
Not this, the 0x00.
Now, what will be there? Undefined variable or method fd4.
For tools hammer. I don't know if it would display these objects.
No, it never displays the object.
Oh, okay. So, I think it is
Then class. Why? But you thought it's an object because you created an object.
I thought it would display, like you see the green thing above.
Yeah, this one. Okay. I don't think it. Oh, you. Okay. Are you muted, Kevin? Okay, thank you. So undefined for this, I'm in support of this, but I'm not sure about this, whether it will be object or not. Okay, let's just do that. .new .fd. for this object without the new.
I think it's bringing the hammer back because it's not. This is the moment we call hammer.new now. It's an instance. Yeah, so it's an object which is represented by that.
But I
Then
think
the class method, like now, if we call fd, yeah, now this is a class method, so it's not in the. It's not a class method in the hammer class.
okay, but self is the main. So it actually expects fd to be a class method in self.
Second one, it is expecting fd to be a class method.
To be a class method. So
Yeah.
if I just did fd, okay, it will be called on self, and self is the main right now. So if I do that, it will be main object. So this means that it expects fd to be a class method in main object, or what? Because main is the self. If you look at self, it will be main. Okay. And can we create an instance of, but this is already an instance. Main is already an instance. Because you can't do self.new. Because since it's self, it means it's an object already. So whatever the fuck is going on here, no idea. Okay, so now we know. If we do this, it will bring back the error with the whole object. Okay. Now to create that instance, we've done that already. Sometimes used to create separate namespaces for classes, modules, and methods. This technique can help two classes have. Okay, for example, the tools hammer can be different from the piano hammer. Okay, so that if we talk about hammers, if you say the tools hammer, we know how it looks like. The piano, how does a piano hammer look like? Piano hammer. Oh, there's no hammer for a piano. I think there should be. Yes, here's the piano hammer. Hopefully. This. Okay. So if we talk about the tools hammer, let me see. Tools hammer. Hammer. Yes, that's our tool hammer. And that's the other one is the piano hammer. So we will know the difference between the two. An alternative way to achieve this separation was to have tools hammer class or piano hammer class without bothering to nest both. Okay. But this will get tiresome and quickly lead to visual clutter, especially when elements are nested deeper than 2 levels. So imagine you have a module for API, version 1, controller, user. That will get a bit uncomfortable for you to type it in every time. Okay. So a class or a module, when you see a construct like that, you can't tell from that construct what's a class and what's the module. Okay. Nor for that matter, whether hammer is a plain old constant, tools has to be a class or a module because it's got hammer nested inside it. In many cases, the fact that you can't tell classes from modules in this kind of context doesn't matter. What matters is the nesting or chaining of the names in a way that makes sense. As long as it makes sense, you're good to go. That's just all well because you can't tell what's what without looking at the source code of the documentation. Sylvia, these are consequences of the fact that classes are modules And the class is a subclass of the class module. Okay, I'll reread that. This is the consequence of the fact that classes are modules. Makes sense because they are instances of modules. The class is a subclass of the class module. They inherit from module. And in many respects, the most notable exception is that class can be instantiated. The behavior is similar, of course. Normally, you'd know what these represent, either because you wrote the code or you've seen the documentation. So I think I can play around with that. So we can do class. Long since I used the word pupil. What's the difference between a pupil and a student? Difference pupil and student. Between pupil. It might be the war that will never end, the British and American thing. It probably is. It probably is. A pupil is described as a person or learner who is enrolled in an educational institution, or it's also used to refer to someone who is under the direct supervision of a teacher because he's either minor or has special needs. In some parts of the world, like in England, the term pupil is used to refer to school children. You see? So in England, it refers to someone who is in the elementary or secondary school. Children in nursery and kindergarten are also referred to as student pupils. Okay. A student is a learner who is enrolled in an educational. The word is used to refer to someone who is already knowledgeable but is undergoing further studies in a specific field. A student is usually already a mature person and does not need any supervision. Okay. The word students come from? Pupils are those learners who are below 18, while students are those learners who are above 18. Okay. Let's have a pupil. Then we can give names equal to an array. Oops. Daddy. And okay. No, I did that wrong. Let's see. How do I access the names? Can I do pupil.names? Can I do that? Undefined method. It's not a method. Can you do the lookup? The constant lookup? I know, but you can always try. You might be surprised. It will only work for instances. Okay, let's create an instance. Yes. Because I'm calling it on the new instance. You don't call variables. Yeah. So we need to redefine it inside the class. So we need to do that. So how do I access this? That gives me back that all these are constant. So if you see something like that, how will you know that names is a constant or a class? And Are you sure pupil is a class or a module?
Yeah, there's no way of being sure.
Yes. So unless you look up the source code or someone tells it to you in the documentation, I still have coffee. Okay, so that's the point that we're having here. All right. So if you look further into the nested class thingy, modules and other constants in the next chapter, we'll have a look at that when we talk about the subject of scopes. Meanwhile, note that the ability to nest modules and classes inside each other to any depth and order gives you yet another axis along which you can plan your program's design and structure. Now we can do a summary of chapter 4, unless there's any question. Okay, so it's been a comparison to and a continuation of chapter 3 on classes. So we've seen the following. We've looked at the modules in details, at least. The similarities between the modules and the classes, in that we can bundle methods and constants, but modules, you just can't interchange them. Okay. You can also use modules to express the design, just like we've done the nesting. Examples of how you might use that. So we can have module. Can I define a module in lowercase? What happens? Yeah, it has to be. So it's throwing an error. So if we create, let's have two modules. Okay. Oh, no. Yes. So you can have another module. Okay. So this, we're doing this just for design purposes, so that every time you want to pay someone, it's easier to say dash dot pay. You can't call this on that, and so this means you have to include this in a class. After including this in a class, now you can call pay. So how can you make it possible to call this directly? Yeah, because we can't do that now. Now we're calling it on this module. So we want to call it directly on the module. Is that possible? It's not. There's no, I want to define pay in a way that I can call it. Because in our case, we have to actually find a class and include. The only way to do this is to call payment dot pay, but it will never be too sure. So this won't even work. Yeah, but again, which pay will it call? Yeah, due to lookup. So how do you do that? Kevin, did you understand what I'm trying to do? No, I'm asking, have you understood what I'm trying to do? Basically, I'm trying to access this pay. Yeah, this one. So how can I access this method pay? Because both Tcash and M-Pesa has the method. Yeah, but I want to use both. So that if I am to pay through Tcash, I'll do that. If I want to pay through M-Pesa, I'll do that. So that's my question. How can I use both? I want to do something like this. Just so that it calls the Tcash pay. And if I do M-Pesa, I can do M-Pesa pay. Can you star method? How? I don't think you can assign methods in Ruby to variables.
So it's like assuming now I want to call the pay method in the M-Pesa.
Yes. I want to be particular. I want to say yes.
Because this, the first one just checks for the calls the method in the one we included, the latest one, which is the M-Pesa.
Yes.
But now, yeah, it's like now you want like maybe the Tcash one.
Yes, I want to use both at the same time so that I only specify which one I want to use.
Oh, will you now go through constant lookup thing? But I'm not.
How do you do that?
We do
Payments.
Which is just give me what to write.
Right, Tcash. Hashtag.
Try. Where did that return Tcash? Where did
I think it assumes these are comment in Ruby.
Oh,
It's like doing this. Comment.
So can you now access it? Payments column.
How?
So payments.
You can't do this.
You can't. Yeah, you can't do this actually.
And I think all this has been covered inside modules, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, on the stack likeliness thing. Because in the stack likeliness thing, let me see. This was method missing. Let's see. Okay, modules and program organization. Move a bit slowly now. Okay, so we can do that. Include, require. Okay, let's see. The only option will be okay. So it means that let me see. You're not muted. So we want to do something like this. This is the only way, is to do this. Just so that we can have as our second option, we can only do that. So anytime you want to do M-Pesa, you do this. Anytime you want to do T-Cash, you do that. That's the only way you can do this. And this means this has to be a module, this has to be a class. So we need to do module payment. Okay. Inside that module, you have a class called Tcash. And this class finds payment is not a module. I think I'll need a clean section. Module payment, okay. Then we define a class called Tcash that has a method called pay. Goods welcome. And so you can do payment, look up Tcash, then you say pay. Give back telco. So the same module, it can have another class called M-Pesa. So you can have the, oh, I can't copy that shit. Module payment class Tcash F. That's for the, okay, then you have another class. Okay. So you can do payment. This off. And if we do payment, okay. So now we have a way of calling pay for either M-Pesa or Tcash. Okay. I expected someone to ask why we're having this. I didn't. So I'm assuming everything is okay. We have 4 minutes to go. Getty, just explain what happens here. Why we needed this. What happens without it? If we didn't have this self. Have to do this every time. We didn't have this. Okay, so we can go through what's the next section. Okay, that's a summary. Chapter 5, the default scope of self and its visibility. For how long is self valid? That's the visibility, I guess. Okay, so this chapter will talk about the role of the default object, self, scoping rules for the local, global, and class variables, constant lookups, and method access rules. Okay, I can't really remember what I read here. So when we're writing programs, we can use spatial and sometimes human metaphors. We talk about being in a class definition or returning from. We can be in a class definition or return from a call. We address objects in the second person, as in you can say object.respond to X. That is, do you respond to X? As the program runs, the question which the objects are being addressed, I don't know what I'm talking about. So I think we can continue from this next time once I've reread it, because I was at, which point was I? I was way below here, and if I start reading this, it will get boring fast. So we can continue from where we left next time. It's been a pleasure having you guys. Okay, no questions, I guess. So bye guys, talk to you in the next one.